What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Um, Sorry about the entrance. It's nothing. Heather's been busy, so with Wendy, so it might not look the greatest, but whatever. We're not professionals here. Um, but welcome to the show. So we are going to be doing cast members of the Cold Bone Show and Wrestling Memories. We're going to be doing our favorite matches. And we're going to start off with Bobbitt's favorite match, which was WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels in a career threatening match. I think that's what they called it. Um, so that being said, if you all, we're doing a watch along. We're going to watch this match in its entirety. We're not going to stop it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk first. We're going to talk about the build up to it. So if you all want to link up, I'm at the Adam Cole thing on the network. I'm at 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and that's where we're going to start the show. That's where we're going to start the match. It's right at the beginning of the match. So we're going to do a watch along with the match. You can watch along with us, and we can talk about it as we talk about it, with the cast and everybody. Speaking of the cast, we have, of course, Foulmouth Mike Bobbitt, Trexter, and Ronnie. Johnny, I'm trying to get a hold of Johnny. I can't get a hold of him right now, but hopefully he'll be here. So, and we also have Tattooed Mistress who is here, but she's had one hell of a day with the child. Apparently, she did not want to sleep. So, that being said, we're going to start off. And I took some notes. I normally don't take notes. Sorry, I normally don't take notes. But I want to start off with this feud, because this feud, well, the way they told the story, and I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. This feud, to me, and I'd like to get everybody's thoughts, was everybody said this was one of the most emotional matches in WWE history. For me, was not one of those matches that I thought it, because I knew what was happening. God damn, Ric Flair was, how old was Ric Flair when this match happened? He's 70 now, so he's like
He was
59.
59, I think.
So it's like, I already kind of knew he was getting ready to retire anyway, so why dwell? You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna sit here. Well, no, actually, I think he was 60 because he is 70 now. Well, he might have been, because it was 10 years ago or 11 years ago, a little under, well, it will be 11 years ago, so it might have been 59. I might be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
he said in an interview he was 59 at the time.
okay. But this feud, and I'd like to get everybody's side, it wasn't emotional for me because, I mean, goddamn, he's 59 years old. We knew he wasn't going to wrestle forever. And I'm not going to lie to you, and Heather could probably vouch for this, I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to that kind of stuff. So it was all right, Paige. How was yours? So I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on it too much, but I like to get everybody else's thoughts before we start talking about the feud, and then we're gonna watch the match, the build up to the feud, and then we're gonna start watching the match. Ronnie, what about you?
For me, it was emotional in the aspect of we knew, like you said, he was going to retire soon, but just leading up to what was coming towards with the end of the match, and Shawn Michaels has always been very charismatic and emotional in the ring anyway,
Uh-huh.
and that for me just kind of led to the, I guess, the emotion as well, because you saw what was going through with him and you saw what was going on with Rick coming towards the end, and it kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit.
Um, well, actually, Ryan, this is the one where Ric Flair gets retired by Shawn Michaels. The Undertaker retired Shawn Michaels. Um, again, I want to reiterate. Did I care about this feud? Yes. I was invested in the feud. I was invested in the story. It wasn't emotional. Wasn't emotional to me. Trek. What about you?
I was invested in it, but I had a feeling he was going to retire after this anyway. There were always rumors that he wanted to run for office or he wanted to go own some, like he had a chain of grocery stores or gyms that he wanted to own. So I had a feeling that this was going to be his last match anyway. It was sad the next night on Raw, buying like it, you know.
Again, even then, I'm gonna say it wasn't emotional to me. I mean, I'm a very. Was I? How do I say this without sounding like a prick? What's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't emotional. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't sad that he was leaving. Look, when these guys, when football players retire, I don't even get emotional. Why? It's like, why cry about it? They're not dead. You know, they're just retiring. And you know how WWE is. They're going to come back. You're going to see them again. It's like everybody got really emotional. I mean, yeah, you're never going to see one of the greatest. In my book, the greatest performer of all time retire from in-ring performing. But Ric Flair was more than just an in-ring performer. Motherfucker could talk. And he was around. He stayed around the WWE for a while. And he's been around the WWE for a while. And in fact, with Charlotte Flair, his daughter, who he, in fact, if you want me to be honest with you, what Charlotte Flair did to her dad was more emotional than watching Shawn Michaels do what he did when he beat Ric Flair. But again, I wasn't even emotional about it. But Heather, what about you?
Like you, it didn't really strike me as an emotional match because, come on, folks, Ric Flair was old. He needed to retire. Plain and
Pretty much.
simple. I mean, yes, it was a beautiful match in the way it ended and the story that was told in the ring. It was good in that way, but it wasn't something to be crying over, in my opinion.
Right. So this feud actually was ignited 4 months prior when Mr. McMahon, prior to WrestleMania 24, he said if Ric Flair loses one match, he has to retire. Just wanted to put that in everybody's head. This wasn't a pop-up thing where the story is just, Ric Flair he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that's when he said, I want to have one more match. The mistake for Ric Flair was saying, I want to have one more match. So you knew he was going to fucking lose. If you listen to what they say, they kind of give away what's going to happen in this feud. And I know Bobbitt, but this is Bobbitt's favorite match. So I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions and what he thinks about the build-up to it. So I know that on February 25th, 2008, the challenge was initiated. And it was Ric Flair who initiated the challenge, not Shawn Michaels, which is where the story is being told. Ric Flair issues a challenge to Shawn Michaels. Storyline, the feud, or it really wasn't even a feud. The story was, and the way he said it, and Bobbitt, what did he say to Ric Flair?
He doesn't want to be remembered as the guy who retired Ric Flair.
Right. He did not want to be the guy. And Shawn Michaels even said it. He said, I've done some pretty shitty things. And he did say that. But he said, I did some pretty shitty things while I was in the WWE, since I've been in the WWE. This I don't want one to be hanging over my head. I do not want to be the one that retires Ric Flair. Shawn Michaels declined the challenge. Essentially, he ended up accepting the challenge. Was it that same night?
Yeah.
Okay, so he told Ric Flair, gave him a heartfelt speech. He goes, yeah, that comes later on, and that comes on the Go Home show where he says Michaels calls Ric Flair Old Yeller. I thought he super kicked him at one point. Didn't he super kick him at one point?
No.
Okay, then it was I don't remember what I was seeing. But so he accepted the challenge. Ric Flair gave him spilled his heart out. He said, "I want to have one more match with you. And if that last match happens, I want it to be against you." So I didn't watch the SmackDown, but apparently they didn't tell the story because it's a Raw feud, I guess. Whatever. Because this is part of the brand split that they had. Even though some of the guys, the brand split, they kind of doing what they're doing now. They kind of switched, like Edge was on a Raw. Randy Orton, I think, was on a SmackDown. So they kind of flip-flopped. They jumped back and forth. So that was the first week, the initial challenge, and this is where the story started getting told. The next week, Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels teamed up. Or no, didn't Shawn Michaels get beat up by Cade and Murdoch at the beginning, and then Ric Flair came out? Or what the hell? Oh no, Shawn Michaels beat the hell out of the two, and then Ric Flair came out and issued the challenge to Shawn Michaels. Ric Flair. Hold on. Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels teamed up to face Cade and Murdoch on the next week on Raw, and the match lasted about 5 minutes, I think it was.
Bobbitt? Really.
Now, Cade and Murdoch were former tag team champions in WWE. That being said, I would not call them jobbers. You know how Johnny's always saying that those lower mid-level card guys always had storylines? These are the kind of guys that he was talking about. Cade and Murdoch were two of those guys. Why? Because they were great workers inside the ring, and they could tell a story. So at the end of the match, Shawn Michaels said, "I've been thinking about it, what you said last week, and I don't want to be that guy that ends Ric Flair's career." And Ric Flair and he goes, "If you keep pushing me," what did he say, Bobbitt?
If you keep listening, you're the one that have a show stopped.
Yep, it is, and this is a quote from him. "It is your show that will be stopped." So that was essentially it. So there really wasn't that much. I mean, they were telling the story that Shawn Michaels didn't want to be the guy that ends Ric Flair's career. That's the story. Nature Boy Ric Flair calls out Shawn Michaels the very next week, and I don't know what happened on SmackDown that week because I didn't watch it. SmackDown, again, it was insignificant. Orton made a match between Cena and Michaels after the promo, but he calls out Michaels, and what did they talk about? What did and this is finally Shawn Michaels said, "I accept the challenge" or whatever, but keep in mind, he didn't get to the old Yeller thing. That comes up here on the next week. So, no, comes up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks prior. So, essentially, he calls out Michaels and he says, "I want to have a match with you. I don't care if my career ends. It doesn't matter." I think this is where he said this sympathetic thing. I don't remember if this is where it is or if it's in the Go Home show, but essentially Ric Flair was saying, "Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I've done everything." Essentially, that's what he should have said, but he didn't. He went about it the other way. Orton made a match between Cena and Michaels, which I thought that would lead into something, and it didn't fucking do it. It was all about Cena because Cena was involved in a match with Triple H and Randy Orton for the WWE title at the time. So they essentially told that story. In fact, Cena lost that match. No, Orton interfered in that match, and I think Shawn Michaels won by disqualification, if I remember correct. Or no, Shawn Michaels won by DQ. The following week, Vince McMahon gets involved in the feud and says he's going to be the one to end. Because remember, 4 months prior, Vince McMahon said if Ric Flair loses another match, he will have to retire from in-ring performing. Now keep in mind, Vince McMahon was throwing Ric Flair into matches that were pretty much impossible to win, but people kept on helping him, or he would win somehow. So essentially, we go on from there, where Vince vowed to end Ric Flair's career before Shawn Michaels can have that match. So they end up having a street fight, and I didn't see it because I was actually making dinner at the time, but I think Shawn Michaels came out and interfered in the match. Did he not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he came out and helped Ric Flair.
It was.
Go ahead, Bobbitt.
Vince hit him with a chair and cover and came out to the and then Flair did the low blow to Vince, and that's how Ric won it.
Okay, so Ric Flair got help from Shawn Michaels. However, the very next week on the Go Home show to Monday Night Raw, Ric Flair called out Shawn Michaels, and he said this is where the Old Yeller thing came in. And Ric Flair was pissed off at Shawn Michaels because he interfered in the match because he, So, yeah. Go ahead and talk about that, Bob, but I kind of lost track of that because I was busy doing other things. Go ahead and talk about the Go Home show.
Yeah, pretty much Sean said tell the story of Yeller and how which memory and what's on the Ric Flair. I'm gonna take you behind the woodshed and put you out of your misery.
Just like an Old Yeller.
Yeah.
So essentially, then that was pretty much the build to the match. Then they had a tag team match on SmackDown. You want to talk about that at all? I didn't catch
that. Nothing progression.
Okay. So it didn't really build to anything. It didn't build to the storyline. So there you go. So we get to WrestleMania, and we're there. So we're at WrestleMania now, so you kind of understand the build to the story, what's going on, why this match is happening. Do you see the difference between the way the story is being told? It was essentially, I would say, a 4-month build, but do you see how WWE's booking matches today? 2 weeks? 2 weeks. They're booking matches. It was like 5 weeks for the build to this shit. That tells you something. Yes, Bobbitt's Skype is cutting out. So deal with it. Nothing I can do about it. We tried fixing it. I don't know what the issue is. So essentially, he was telling you about the Old Yeller thing. If you have not seen it, go back and watch old Raws. The 25th of March through up to WrestleMania, which is March 30th, correct?
February 25th, right?
March 30th, or whatever. March 30th. It was February 25th. I'm sorry. To March 30th. So it's like a 5-week build. WWE doesn't do that anymore for any of their shit. So essentially, we are there. Now, this is where we're going to do the watch. We're going to watch. It's about a 25-minute match, I think. So who's all ready?
Right.
All right. So I know some of the people on the show are going to watch this. So let me catch the delay here, and then we'll start. So it's about a 5-second delay on that on my end. So wait, I'm gonna count to 3, and then I'm gonna give it an additional. Okay, so I'm gonna count to 3, and everybody will go. Everybody on YouTube will go. We will wait another 5 seconds and then go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody else, go. Where was this? This was in Orlando, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
This WrestleMania was in Orlando. The first one in Orlando. Shawn Michaels comes out first, and it was kind of the honorable thing to do. I mean, usually everybody said that Shawn Michaels, excuse me, like fucking Jim Cornette, doesn't like Shawn Michaels. I justifiably so. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think Shawn Michaels. It's all about Shawn. Shawn Michaels is all about Shawn Michaels. Here, when after he came back from his back injury and stuff, he cleaned up his act and he realized that what he was doing was hurting the business more than it was helping the business. You're gonna get pyro at WrestleMania every year, Brian. It don't matter. You can say, oh look, pyro, but you're gonna get pyro at WrestleMania every year. It's WrestleMania. And for me personally, and I know people have heard me say this, I don't give a shit about pyro. What does it add? The ooh and ah, that's it. The ooh and ah should happen inside the ring, not with pyro. I could care less if they have pyro, to be honest. I'm one of those proponents to not give a shit about the pyro. If that makes sense. A little story behind this: the referee in this, Charles Robinson, Ric Flair wanted Charles Robinson to call to ref his last match. So I know you are. I know you are, Ryan. So just a little story that Charles Robinson wanted. Excuse me, Ric Flair wanted Charles Robinson to ref his last match.
Because he was Ric Flair Jr.
Yeah. 'Cause
Essentially, he was Ric Flair Jr. In fact, there was a storyline, I think, at WCW where they did that, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they always called him that, what, Little Nate.
Lil Nate, yep.
Now, if anything, this is the emotional part. His family is at ringside. Yes, Charlotte Flair is at ringside. Ashley, I think she was like 18 at the time. How old is she?
17 or 18. Around there.
Well, how old is she now? She's 32. It's 11 years ago. She's 20. She's in her 20s. She's either early 20s, like 21, 22 maybe.
When you also saw too when Shawn Michaels was looking down at them and mocking them, that
Well,
the cockiness of him as well.
but he wasn't mocking them. That was the thing. He was. I don't think he was mocking them. Shawn Michaels was way past that. I think he was actually. I don't remember. I don't know if he was saying anything to them. I'd have to go back and watch because I think there was an interview about that.
Yeah, it's just, like when he climbed up the rope, it's just at that point. I mean, like when you were saying about how he was prior to the back injury. I mean, he was the young buck coming in, and of course, with the comment made about Ric Flair being Old Yeller, that was kind of the stab at the young buck putting the Old Yeller down.
Right.
Yeah, so there's the.
I mean, for 59 years old, he looks 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just up and down the road, you know.
I mean, look at Charles Robinson. He's even doing the rope thing for him.
That's a whole lot of other.
And this is kind of a cool thing. Reed was there for that too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it gets kind of fucking emotional. I guess you could say for a lot of people, but again, I'm not gonna cry about it. So.
Are you hungry?
It's got saggy boobs, man.
Of course, he's 100.
Yeah.
You're hungry and finding sleep. I know. I know, baby. Daddy's right there. It's okay.
Where are you guys at? Are you ready for the ding ding, or I just heard a ding?
I did too.
Okay, so we're.
Yeah, we're right at pretty much right on sync.
To be honest with you, what Shawn Michaels is how old? I know. I think Triple H is older than he is. No.
I think Sean's 52.
Okay, so Shawn Michaels was 41 at this time. He's not exactly a young pup here either.
Definitely younger than Ric Flair.
Well, he's 18 years younger than Ric Flair, but you know what I mean. He's not in wrestling years. He's not exactly a young pup.
Shawn Michaels is 53. So,
Okay. Triple H, I think, is just like 4 years older than me. I think he's 49.
yeah, he's 49. He's the same age as I am.
Wendy. But keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of rest holds in this match because Ric Flair is 59, and he was known. How do you think he became the 60-minute man? A lot of rest holds, man. That was Ric Flair in a nutshell.
Damn, his mouth is bleeding after that.
Yep.
Fucking Ric Flair. Even at his age, he's still a great in-ring performer. He could sell great. You know, he had it all. Him and Shawn Michaels. This is actually the right person to end his career.
That's why he chose him.
Oh, I know. I mean, I tell you right now, if Sting was there, he would have had Sting do it.
I was just
But
gonna say that.
I can almost guarantee that he would have had, if Sting would have been in WWE, it would have been Sting that ended Ric Flair's career.
He would have been the only other perfect one.
Well, there's without a beyond a shadow of a doubt. If Triple H hadn't have been in the feud that he was in, I could see Triple H being the one to end his career. But I would have loved to have seen Sting end his career, not Shawn Michaels personally.
That would have made it more emotional if they were Sting.
I probably would have been. I remember watching the very first time Ric Flair, and we talked about it. Was it last week? About Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, or Ric Flair and Sting. That first match, I was sold on fucking Sting, and I was definitely sold on Ric Flair. King just said it's a historic match because every time Ric Flair went to the top rope, it never fucking worked.
Right. That's not.
Well, that's why he said it's a historic match.
Oh God!
I know, right?
Oh. And that was when they had the old TV monitors there too. Oh.
Not a fan of that.
Guaranteed broken ribs right there.
Actually, no, he did not have broken ribs. He's bruised, but he didn't have broken ribs.
It was a wonder.
Yes.
Wendy is fully captivated.
Okay, well. When did Shawn Michaels leave and then come back? It was 98. He left and he came back in 2002. Did he was he gone for like 5 or 6 months during that time?
I think so. I think he was a part timer.
Yeah, because he came back at SummerSlam.
Okay. Cause well, he was not a part timer because wasn't he a full timer for like a while? Because didn't he just like retire? When did he retire? WrestleMania 26 was his last match, right?
Yes, the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was more of a full timer still. Let me tell you something about the difference between a full timer and a part timer. Yeah, Shawn Michaels may have been a part timer, but he was always there. If that makes sense.
That's right. He was a part timer in ring.
Yes.
He was always there for a backstage segment with Triple H for like DX
Mm-hmm.
and all that. When they brought that whole thing back.
But they actually had a match before then.
Yeah, I remember that, Ryan. That that was a wild night because I think Cena got hurt a couple days before.
How an almost 60-year-old man could take a bump like that, I do not know.
He kept himself in shape, and he was thoroughly dousing himself with alcohol still at that point.
Oh, was he?
Yes. And he didn't stop drinking until last year.
Well, he had to.
Yeah, exactly.
He fucking completely missed.
Yeah, I remember that, Ryan. We were all guessing at work and stuff. We thought maybe they were going to do a steel cage match or elimination chamber, like a fatal four way. And then when it came out, he gave it to Orton. We were like, that was it.
An over-exaggerated bump by Ric Flair. One of his trademarks. His trademark, the bump where he gets hit in the face and then he like walks five paces, stops, and then does like a fucking tree fall.
The Flair flop.
The Flair flop, yep.
Yep.
Here comes a crucial point in the match where Shawn Michaels has second thoughts. You can see he's having second thoughts already.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if there's a compilation online of like
Ric
all
Flair
the times
right,
he flopped.
Ric Flair goes right into the figure four.
Greatest player in the game.
Yep.
Gotta always remember that about him.
And Jerry the King Lawler said it great. He who hesitates is lost.
However,
That too. I mean, he had so many goddamn monikers. It's not even funny.
and Michael reversed it. There.
tried doing a spot there and it didn't work.
Sean's back didn't grab it.
Yeah, his back was still fucked up, but well, Ric Flair is like 250 pounds too.
Yep.
JP,
Yes.
Ryan has a question for the chat.
Do you think this should have been the main event of the night, or was Taker and Edge the right feud to end the show?
Taker and Edge was the right feud to end the show.
I think Taker and the Edge was the right feud to end the show, because of the storyline that they were going. This wasn't really that big of a story build. The story build between Undertaker and I have to go back and watch the feud itself. But number one, it was for the world title, and Edge was the hottest thing going in WWE at the time.
And not to mention, it was two superstars that were still part of the roster.
And like I said, and I say this all the time. The main event is the one that puts the butts in the seats. Everything else makes the show. This match right here made the show with its storytelling. The way that they told the story in the ring. In fact, the triple threat for the WWE title was a great co-main event at that time. So I would have to say, and again I would have to say, Edge Undertaker was the right call. He's asking, what about you, Trek?
I agree. Back when it first happened, I thought Flair and Michael should have closed it out. But then you look at the send-off he got the next night on Raw, and I think it was right. I think the match listing was the right way.
Well, everybody misunderstands. Not the best match of the night. Because, again, we talk about it, WrestleMania 3. The best match of the night was Randy Savage.
Steamboat.
Yep. But what put butts in the... And that's what people don't misunderstand. A lot of people misunderstand. Yes, you're probably right. This match probably would have been a great finish to the show. But you didn't really want to end... The thing about WrestleMania is even though they didn't end on a good note last year, it was one of the few times that they have not ended on a good note or with a happy ending. You don't want to end the night with a somber, sad ending.
Exactly. Look at the fact that at 30, Undertaker lost, but that wasn't the last match. The last match was Daniel Bryan because everyone wanted to see him win, so they went out on a high note.
You interested in what Daddy's doing? Yeah, you are.
Well, yeah, Ryan, but they thought that was going to be... Well, yeah, Ryan, but they thought that was going to be Taker's last match, so they didn't know.
I still don't think it should have ended the show. Well, it's the match that put butts in the seats, though.
Mm-hmm.
Blowing up at Daddy?
What was the championship match that night? Oh, like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar is main event. That wasn't going to put butts in the seats. Everybody knew that wasn't going to be the match that it was Undertaker Reigns was the main event.
Yeah.
And it was
I think
a bad
the only
call. It was a bad call. It honestly should have been whatever the WWE title was.
Rollins
versus
that Triple H, I think.
I don't know what should have ended fucking WrestleMania 33. They should have just ended WrestleMania 33 with a damn... If somebody pooped in the middle of the ring, it would have been better than WrestleMania 33. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Pretty much.
Now, just going to keep in mind, do you notice that they're not finishing? Even though there was a sweet chin music, he didn't cover him right away. WWE rushes they. This is why, to me, a lot of finishers are worth a shit anymore. But if you notice, a lot of these finishes during this time, like Shawn Michaels super kicking Ric Flair that one time, he didn't cover him right away, so he gave Ric Flair time to recover.
Exactly.
Now, if this was to happen, Ric Flair would have covered him, or Shawn Michaels would have covered him, Ric Flair would have kicked out. I'd been like, yeah, well, now Shawn Michaels' super kick isn't worth shit. That's the issue I have with it. Like Roman Reigns' spear. It's not worth a shit because everybody, Brock Lesnar kicks out of it all the time, except for one time. But
yeah, Ryan, I think you're right. It was Wyatt versus Orton that night instead. But I don't think that would have been a good thing to close the show with, though.
No, the way they did that match, no. That's why I was gonna say that, but I was gonna say nah, no. I don't know what should have ended the match. That is true, Ronnie. You can speak up, Ronnie. You could have said that.
It's okay.
Well, with Shawn, it was also because there's that infamous fight with Brett, and Brett pulled a big old chunk of hair out of his head. So
yeah.
I think this is the end of the match.
Yep. You can tell his face.
Yeah.
Yep, you can. Yep, it's coming to an end right here.
yeah.
My favorite moment in this whole match right here.
This is where the story got told right here.
Yep.
And this is why this. And what he did right there. He immediately gave him a hug.
Right. See, that to me was the emotional aspect of it because it was similar to like at the end with that curtain call thing where they all got in the ring. It was kind of like a little bit of the kayfabe was broke because leaning over, talking to him. Of course, you didn't see it, but he did say in an interview what he said to him, and then kissing him on the forehead, and then just quickly getting out of the ring to give him this moment.
What did he say to him? You can say what he said to him.
I pulled the interview up because I wanted to. I know he talked a lot about him being 15 and him being the inspiration for him with wrestling. That was part of the interview, which was also part of the emotion and why he wanted to kind of lead the match on. He said he told him that he loved him, and he can't say it to this day without getting weepy half the times. But you have to understand this was the guy who was in the ring with him, and in there in body, but inside was this 15-year-old kid who watched him every Saturday. Right. So it was just thank you for giving me this honor, and I love you for it.
Right. This told the story. But it would have been a better I'm sorry. To me, it would have been a better send-off if it was Sting, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Again, it's like with what we've been saying with Kurt Angle. Bookend matches.
WWE failed in that aspect. And they're gonna fail. I'm sorry. You're not getting John Cena versus Kurt Angle. Baron Corbin is going to end Kurt Angle's career.
Yeah, and then like you said too, I mean the family's there. One of the many ex-wives and Reed being there.
Yeah.
David, there's his son David, who was in WW or WCW with him. His other daughter. There's Reed, and there's Charlotte or Ashley, as we like to call her, and that's his wife at the time. And I think if I remember correctly, and I'm going to call her Ashley, I'm not going to call her Charlotte. I think this match, this kind of gave her, it didn't put her in the ring, but she went back and watched it along with her brother Reed, gave her the inspiration to try wrestling. So.
And then after Reed died, that's when she really got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she said she was doing it for him.
Her entrance at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, she wore her dad's robe, if I remember correctly. Or
there were pieces of it left, so she made them. She had them put into the robe that she wore.
Oh, okay.
Like how there's no commentary or anything.
Nope. That's the way they should. That's the way they did. Well, that's the way they did it for The Undertaker, but they fucked that up.
And then also with parts of that interview afterwards, they said it just, even backstage, like in that gorilla position, and people with congratulations and.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if Bruce Pritchard was there, because he was pretty much part of the creative team when that took place. So there you go. Now I'm gonna do a special thing here. Everybody go to the night after for Raw, and we're gonna watch the farewell for Ric Flair. You all right, Bobbitt?
Yeah.
And that was 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. March 30th, 2008. So
it'd be March 31st, 2008.
Right.
All right, so you go to that. I gotta find it, but we'll talk about it. So, I don't know if it's at the beginning or if it's at the end. So, Bobbitt, explain why you picked this match. That's pretty much what I want to know. I want to know why you picked the match, and was this my question to you is, was this match itself, did this get you into wrestling, or was this one of those matches that, explain yourself.
Okay. Basically, the reason why I chose this match was because the emotion, the way that it ended, and it was a match that they haven't done since, and I just loved everything about it. The moment, my favorite part of the whole match was when Sean said, "I love you," and then he kicks him one final time. That's something that hasn't been replicated ever since.
Okay, so I'm at the go home show, or I'm at the night after. They're doing the intro, Ric Flair. I don't know if it's
As your second part of the question, that match right there made me love wrestling even more.
Okay. This was that time. I shouldn't say that I was involved in fucking just getting drunk all the time, but this is one of those times where I was more involved in my Army career than I was into wrestling. So, but I was still watching. I'm trying to find. Okay, so it's at the end, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't
it's
it at the end of the show?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Heather, I just wanted to make sure. Santino Marella versus Maria Kanellis. Nope, the women are come out and beat the fuck out of Santino Marella. That was the gayest fucking 2 minutes of my life. I can't believe I watched that shit.
You didn't have to. You wrote that stuff.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we're gonna watch this, and then we'll end the show here. I figured Bobbitt, I don't know if you can watch it, but
Yeah, I'll do my best.
well, I'm already there. Let me know when everybody else is. I'm at the intro to the end of the night.
I was going to say I've got the right before the.
It's at
start.
1 hour, 14 minutes, and 31 seconds. That's where I'm at. And I think, and honestly, Ryan, I think that is why it was an underwhelming episode of Raw, is because it did not want to take away from what was going to happen at the end of the night. That essentially was the WrestleMania moment the night after Raw. Because you know how WWE does now? They still do a WrestleMania moment right after Raw. Like they had fucking Carmella beat Charlotte for the title. That's a WrestleMania moment. The night after Raw.
Yep.
This is that WrestleMania moment, so they made Raw be really the real big undercard. Because look, that's the night after Raw. You just after Raw or after WrestleMania, they should just throw matches out. That's the night that fuck it, who cares? Just throw a match out there. Have a rematch of a match.
Either that or that's the night where you put everybody that was not on the card on the card.
There you go. Instead of having everybody on the card, like Heather just said, have those that weren't at WrestleMania be on Raw. My God. Because it's still part of WrestleMania weekend. Makes sense. Makes total sense. But then again, it's not WrestleMania. See, they hand out their bonus checks, which I think is stupid. Let me know when everybody's there.
I'm ready.
Ronnie?
Yep.
Bobbitt? Okay, on 3.
Ready as ever.
I don't know if everybody else wants to do this, but I think I've given everybody enough time. We're gonna wait, do the 1, 2, 3 again. Everybody in YouTube goes when they hear the 1, 2, 3, and then I say go, and we'll do it. We'll go an additional 5 seconds. So on 3, 1, 2, 3, go. Go. I don't know if you heard me say go, but I said go.
Yep.
Yep.
This is like a 30-minute freaking segment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really good segment. Actually, didn't I say at the beginning of the show this was more emotional than the match itself?
Yeah.
So I'm still not going to get emotional, but it's one of those things that gives you chills, if that makes sense. For Ric Flair, in all honesty, Ryan, I couldn't expect any less. Like I said, Ric Flair, one of the greatest, no, in my opinion, the greatest performer to ever step in the ring.
And at this point, he had what, a 40-year career?
I'd have to look, but I think he wrestled for he was something like that. Close. And two, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Did they do it the night before WrestleMania or the day or Friday before?
Night before.
Night before. This is back. They're only doing it on Friday because of they're doing NXT on Friday because of Hall of Fame on Saturday.
Yes, I understand that, but I don't give a shit about the goddamn. No, they're switching on Saturday because of the G1 Supercard. Or is the Hall of Fame is usually on Friday, isn't it? I think so.
It has, if there has been an NXT show, it's usually Saturday, but last year was Friday.
Well,
I agree, Ryan. That's perfection. It is.
did he wrestle in TNA right after that?
Yes.
Like a couple months ago, yeah.
Yeah, he showed up there right after they said he retired in WWE and unretired in TNA.
Because remember 2011, he and Sting had a match too.
Oh, that's right. Oh well.
So he had almost a 50-year career at that point.
What about Adam Cole? What are you guys talking about? What about Adam Cole?
He's winning Friday.
Can we not talk about that right now? I'm trying to fucking do a goddamn retrospective show here.
But he's the next
No, he's not. He's not the next fucking Ric Flair.
I said Shawn Michaels.
He's not the next Shawn Michaels either. Everybody thinks he is, but he's not.
He could be.
No, I don't think his career is going to last as long as Shawn Michaels did. I like Adam Cole, but I don't. That's a pretty tough comparison.
Before anybody asks, in the chat or on here, where Roddy Piper was during this, Roddy Piper actually got death threats, so he couldn't come.
He couldn't come. I don't remember.
He couldn't be there because his family was getting death threats along with him, so they told him to stay home.
Why was he getting death threats?
I have no idea, but there was someone there who didn't want him there, so they were calling in death threats against his family. So they told him, keep your family safe, don't come in.
breaking kayfabe again.
Right.
Who fucking cares? If you can't, this is my issue with people today. If you can't separate reality from storytelling, then you have no fucking imagination. Just saying.
All that hair that was flowing back then.
So this was pretty cool.
Are you gonna eat, or are you just gonna sit there and bite the bottle again?
I'm just gonna sit here and eat. Dishes. Yeah. Well, that'd make 5 horsemen. The fuck.
Oh, different.
They're. I get. Oh my god, I got it. I get it.
Very good. Used to be good looking. Jesus Christ.
Wow, he got fucking old.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. My favorite 4 horsemen. You want to talk about favorite 4 horsemen? Was Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair.
The original 4. Yeah.
No, they weren't the original 4. These guys are the original 4. These are the original 4 horsemen. Ole Anderson came in after Barry Windham had. Because I think if I remember right, Ric Flair kicked Barry Windham out of the 4 horsemen, and then they ended up having a feud because he needed a baby face. He needed a baby face to fight with.
I remember Barry Windham being part of the 4 Horsemen.
I do
Sid
too.
Vicious.
I remember Sid Vicious being a part of the 4 horsemen.
Benoit was too, I think.
Hold on a second. What? Who?
Chris Benoit was one too.
Yeah, but that was towards the end of WCW.
Yeah.
It was like right before. Yeah. I mean, he was, but it was like.
I'm talking early to mid '80s.
The NWO era was when. And just the thing, he beat the shit out of Ric Flair 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Even though it was for storyline, but everybody be like, why is he hugging him? Fucking dumb people. Takamichinoku. I'm just kidding. It's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
I was gonna say, the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, his greatest, and honestly, the greatest match that I have ever seen is these two. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair had some of the best fucking matches ever in wrestling history.
Which, funny little tidbit, Rick actually calls Sasha Ricky because Sasha Banks is Charlotte Flair's Ricky Steamboat.
Harley Race.
Are you gonna eat?
When Ric Flair was an up-and-comer, new Harley Race was wrestling. He was a champion in 1983 at the first Starrcade. The very first Starrcade in 1983, Ric Flair beat Harley Race in a cage match. The match lasted like half hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ric Flair could have a match with anybody and make it look good.
Just eat.
I don't. This feud, I don't know that much about. But what was the significance of Ric Flair and Greg the Hammer Valentine?
I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
I don't
remember. One of his first feuds, other than Harley Race.
Really? I don't know.
I think it could have been.
Okay. No, that's fine. Dean Malenko. He had a feud with Dean Malenko.
He's also another horseman.
He was?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Near the end of WCW with Benoit.
Okay. Because Arn Anderson had to retire. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, Jericho. Are you done? You want to do Tony time? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Get you guys done with the show and I'll put you down for Tony time.
A few years ago, they would have ended with John Cena, like a few years ago, but I do like how they ended this. If I remember right, Shawn Michaels is the last one.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people too back then were speculating with the Randy Orton, with him coming out with Batista for the Evolution part.
Right.
They should have had them two come out together, but
And then his family. Here comes your family. He's like, here comes your family.
Charlotte pre-boobage and hair extensions.
In fact, if I remember right, they were gonna do something with Reed, and that's why he didn't. If I remember correctly, he was gonna sign with WWE.
Yes. Just before he passed.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was watching this, because I remember watching this, I was waiting for Sting to come out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that. And if you notice, Shawn Michaels isn't doing his typical bullshit.
No, it was very respectful.
Everybody's kind of looking at Shawn Michaels like you fucking dickhead.
Batista's look to him. He's like, "You're screwed, dude."
But if you remember correctly, Ric Flair called him out.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember right, The Undertaker comes out too.
I think it's Undertaker and McMahon.
Yeah.
Does Vince McMahon come out?
Yeah,
He
afterwards.
does.
Oh, he has to be the last fucking one.
Well, they waited till the cameras were off, and then Taker came out, and then Vince.
Yeah, it was like post Raw footage.
Yep. Triple H.
This should be every single fucking person that is on that fucking roster
Exactly.
needs to come out there, and they do.
They do.
They do. It's
Yep.
not, except for Randy Orton because he's a fucking douchebag. But
No, Orton's out there.
I'm
You're the third person out.
goddamn, shut
Oh,
up!
okay.
I was kidding. Damn, oh, fucking Hornswoggle!
Yes.
That's why. This is why Bobbitt picked this match.
You knew my secret plan.
He secretly knew.
Cody, you should have been out in that fucking ring. Your father was one of his biggest feuds.
Well, I wouldn't. So was Goldust though. But you got to remember, Heather. You know.
It doesn't matter. He didn't have to say anything on a mic like the others did.
Look at that. There's CM Punk. He's returned.
Oh gosh.
Oh Jesus! Fuck.
I'm gonna call
Luke,
Chauncey.
Lou Gallows.
Justice.
Lou Gallows.
Oh, I just got the hiccups. Hiccups. Give me my yang.
Fucking hacksaw Jim Duggan. Just kidding.
Hey.
Ronnie.
I'm gonna slide right out of my lap. But...
He looks like a mom and a housewife. Younger.
Really? That was one hell of a hiccup right there. Are you gonna eat? Okay. You're looking at it. You actually gonna eat out of it?
He looks older than 59 in that.
Fuck yeah. Great Cody.
I thought he was like 70 when this happened.
Wendy.
All right. Really? Come on now. Give her here.
Maybe she'll eat for you. She's not
No.
gonna eat for me.
She won't eat for me. Hey, you need to settle down. Yeah. What's the deal? See, they're probably going to do the raw footage after this. I haven't even seen the raw footage, to be honest with you. Because there is still 12 minutes left. Yep, after the show. There we go.
Yep.
There it is.
There he is.
Y'all better get out of the fucking ring. The Undertaker's coming. remember these two having a big feud. Did they have a feud?
I don't think so. Maybe it's me and Mark. He had a feud with Ric
Oh,
Flair.
of course he had a feud with him as me and Mark. But everybody looking at him like, I'm not fucking
Yeah,
talking to that guy.
Yeah, they did. It was the WrestleMania when he was American Badass and he was beating up Rick's son.
Okay, I don't
Bob
remember.
Holly.
I got an idea. How about I beat them all?
How about you give me the belt? Then what happens? That beat them all.
What are
Like,
we gonna do with the
shit.
belt? I got an idea. I'll beat them all. If anybody doesn't know, that's Bob Holly. That is Bruce Pritchard's impersonation of Bob Holly.
Yep. What's up, Arush and Shu in the chat? How's it going?
What's up, Roosh and Shu? Yes, you see a Wendy. She's being a shit right now. And I don't know what he said to him. Now, I want everybody to understand the significance of The Undertaker when it comes to the WWE.
And kneeling like that as well.
No, it's not even that. Did you see Ric Flair's reaction? The Undertaker is WWE. However, I'm going to say this. At WrestleMania 33 should have been his last match. I'm going to say this now. He's never going to get that final match that everybody was hoping that he would get.
Nope.
And that is sad. Now, don't be surprised if he don't get it, but it's not, you're going to get the same. Who's going to retire him?
He wanted Roman Reigns to do it.
Well, they fucking failed at that.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I would have said John Cena.
I honestly think they should have done it when the end of the era match.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree, Sting should have, but Sting can't wrestle anymore.
Sting said he would come back to fight.
If he could, but I don't see it happening. Are you gonna eat from Mom now?
There's Vince. No music.
And that's the respect that Vince McMahon gave them, though. Everybody thinks Vince McMahon is a dick. But I'm telling you what, Vince McMahon understands what Ric Flair did for the business.
He loved him. You're gonna break his arm, Vince. Jesus Christ.
Vince isn't an emotional guy, but this is one of those moments that he is.
Yeah, it's very rare to see him
Yep.
emotional. I even think that they did something on YouTube about that it was only like 10 or 11 times that he got emotional. It was like a compilation of
Right.
things. But I mean, even with like The Undertaker coming down, I mean, the respect that everybody gave, going to the sides and then him coming down, like you said, the bowing. I mean, it just,
You want to take her?
the two icons in the ring like that.
I'm gonna end the show.
You gonna eat now, little brat? Little brat.
She looked like she was trying to eat your shirt.
What's that?
She looked like she was trying to eat your shirt, dude.
No, she's Heather's trying to get her to eat. She's been really fussy today for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, I haven't been home, but she's been really.
You've seen the video. You're hungry. You're refusing. I know, baby. I know.
And to just think 5, 6 years later, his daughter would be doing the same thing he did.
Well, and was it almost 15 years now?
Charlotte's been in the ring?
No. Since his retirement.
11 years.
11 years.
11 years,
She's
yeah.
now doing something he has done. She is now headlining WrestleMania.
I don't think he ever headlined. Did he headline a WrestleMania?
Yep, against Savage.
No, he didn't headline it. He didn't main
Oh.
event. He didn't main event. Hulk Hogan did.
Right.
He's gonna. Oh, please don't. He's gonna elbow drop his. He's a fucking nutball, man. Knee drop.
That was the cocaine he was on.
Yeah. Vince cheering him on.
Good thing he didn't bleed on anything because he was wearing all light colors.
Oh shit.
Right?
That was the other notorious thing. That and the gold watches.
That's the Hall of Fame watch.
Yep.
What I would have given my left fucking nut to see that man wrestle live. Never got a chance to do it.
Yeah, it was a good build, Ryan.
Hmm? All right. Well, there you go. So that'll probably be the longest one of the shows. Because it is Ric Flair. For me, again, I will say this. This feud was, to me, wasn't emotional. The more emotional part was the night after, was the payoff for me. I will say this. This man transcended wrestling. He gave it that opportunity to get where it has gotten today. He was in the golden era of wrestling when in a time where over-the-top characters were the thing. And Ronnie knows what I'm talking about. He wasn't an over-the-top character. Yes, his personality was over the top, but his character was not over the top.
His character was him.
The character was who he was and who he wanted to be. In fact, Harley Race and Dusty Rhodes told him, I want to be just like you guys. And they're like, no, Rick, you do you. Don't be who you're not. And Ric Flair became the charismatic Ric Flair. One of the greatest, not, I keep saying one of, hands down, the greatest performer of our generation that we'll ever see. I'll ever see in my lifetime. There's probably nobody that'll be able to top what he has done ever.
Right, because you say his name and it's just everybody knows the name.
Everybody knows who. You could say, I could go to work tomorrow and I could say Roman Reigns, and everybody's like, who the fuck is Roman Reigns? But if I say Ric Flair, every single person that I work with would know who he is. It's the same as Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are synonymous. And I know a lot of people don't like fucking Hulk Hogan because of what he said. Well, fuck that shit.
I just don't like him because
What?
he couldn't wrestle.
Well, okay, but I get that. But the point is, they're synonymous with wrestling, and without them too, there probably wouldn't be wrestling today. Just saying. I've given you my thoughts. Again, one of the greatest performers of my time. Great match. Shawn Michaels, no matter what he does, gives you a great match. He was retired 2 years later by the Undertaker in a streak versus career. If Shawn Michaels did not beat Ric Flair, or goddamn, Shawn Michaels did not beat the Undertaker, he would have to retire. If the Undertaker did not beat Shawn Michaels, well, the streak would end. And we all know how that turned out. I'm going to go around the room here. Heather, your final thoughts?
Really, nothing more to add. Said everything at the beginning.
Okay, sorry. Ronnie, what about you?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add is with because everything that you said I agree with and what we have stated. And the 16 title wins for the one individual through his career, and everybody knows and says that that's what Charlotte's striving for, to be the next one to have that many, but to accomplish that in that career span is a feat in itself.
Right, and for people to sit there and shit on Charlotte Flair, who cares? It's WWE. They're going to do what they want to do. They're honestly, they're probably doing it because they have that much respect for Ric Flair, and nobody thinks about that. You could see that Charlotte, that after that match was over, she was not happy the way that it went down, but she understood it's the business. Things must move forward. And for them to move forward, they needed to do what they needed to do. I think it was the right decision, because if that wasn't the right decision, essentially the match really makes no sense.
Yeah, the only one that's close to even to beat that record would be Cena.
Yes, he's at 16.
He's at right, so yeah, he would be the only one that would take that away.
But I honestly don't think they're going to do it. Like, they had their opportunity to do it, and they didn't do it. Trek, what about you? Anything else, Ronnie? I'm sorry.
No, that's it. No, that was it.
Ronnie or Trek, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. There's a reason the man is the 16-time world champion. He's actually more, but they just don't. He doesn't count those. He just counts the ones that everyone counts. He transcended the business, like you guys said. He is the icon. He is the one that everyone tries to live up to. There was even that shot of Shawn Michaels holding up the wrestling magazine trying to emulate him. That's how damn good the guy was. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about anybody trying to be. You hear about people trying to be like Hulk Hogan, but nobody ever says, I want to be like Ric Flair, because nobody will ever be like Ric Flair.
Correct. Cannot disagree with that. And finally, we'll finish it here with Bobbitt.
There will never ever be another Ric Flair or Shawn Michaels. The man was one of a kind, and I anybody who would even be like Ric Flair. He was every.
And then Bobbitt cut out. That's all right, Bobbitt. Essentially, what Bobbitt's saying is there will never be another Ric Flair. There will never be another Shawn Michaels. This match was probably one of the last. I didn't care for either of the Shawn Michaels or Undertaker match. If I cared for either one, it'd be the first one. I didn't care for the retirement versus streak match. Sorry, not sorry. This is probably the storytelling in this match was in the ring, not by a microphone. So that's where the in-ring story, even though he was 59 fucking years old, told a great story. Do you agree with that assessment, Bobbitt?
100%.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
100%.
Okay, 100%. Okay. With that being said, Bobbitt, thank you. This was a good match. This is a good look back on a match that a lot of people think is one of the most emotional moments in WWE history. So with that being said, I'm gonna end it here. Next week, didn't I say we were taking a break? Isn't there still? Don't I have something going on next
The
week?
18th. We have her doctor appointment.
Oh, okay. So next week, Ronnie, who did you pick?
WrestleMania 20, Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn.
You picked a match, a triple threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. So if I remember correctly, Benoit had won the Royal Rumble, and they threw Shawn Michaels in the match. Well, Shawn Michaels is in the match too, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, they
Yep.
threw Shawn Michaels in the match because honestly, they didn't think Chris Benoit could carry the main event. So I think that's why he was involved in the match. But I will say this: we will talk about the build up to it.
Okay.
I don't think we'll start at Royal Rumble because I already told you he wins the Royal Rumble, and then the build up to the match they have at WrestleMania 20. I think that match lasted like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was like
It's
27 minutes.
It's a long match. So we'll watch that, and then we'll watch the moment after Chris Benoit wins the title. It was another one of those emotional moments, a WrestleMania moment, if you want to go there, between Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. So we're gonna do that next week, and then the week after, we will not be doing wrestling memories because Wendy has some more shots that she needs to get, and the last time that she got shots, it was not pretty.
Alright, you're done eating. Your fault.
So we will be back the following week after that, where we will do Austin Hart WrestleMania 13, mine
Nice.
and Trek's favorite match,
Mhm.
hands down. If I can get Gina to come on, if I remember right, hers was
Benoit and Eddie Guerrero.
Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. I don't remember when
I
that
think
was.
it was not Fastlane. Vengeance.
Vengeance. Okay,
I believe.
we'll watch that. I'll watch along on that one, and then if I can get Johnny to come back, I don't know where Johnny is, but we're gonna do Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in 1997, I think. Well, no, it's not a WWE match. I'd have to. No, he had Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, I think. I'd have
Johnny,
to.
yes.
I'd have to look. So with that being said, I'm going to end it here. I want to thank everybody for being here. We'll do this again next week, exactly the same way we just did tonight. We'll talk about the build up to it. We'll watch the match, and then we'll watch the end of the match, and then we'll talk about it like we did here. So with that being said, I want everybody to have a great night, and we will talk to you tomorrow night on Bobbitt's channel. We are doing NXT Takeover. So it'll be over on Bobbitt's channel. If you have not, Bobbitt, if you want to put that link in the chat real quick before we get out of here. No, we're not. It's a WWE match, not a WCW. But I don't think that was title versus mask anyway. No, not that one. The very first match that they had. It was 1997. I can't remember which one it was, but that's Johnny's absolute favorite match. But we're not going to do that one. It's going to be WWE. So it's Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. I think it's the second match.
I think it was WrestleMania 25 then.
Oh, the first match.
Yeah.
So we will be doing Takeover tomorrow night, and then Sunday we will be doing WrestleMania. Everybody, yes, we're not doing the whole show. Trust me. We're gonna might come pop on a half hour before the regular show starts. We'll talk about the both battle royals and the cruiserweight match, which I'm probably not even gonna watch anyway. But
We're definitely going to rotate taking care of her on that day.
yeah, I know. So with that being said, I will see you guys. I know when it was, Merch. God damn it! I'm just saying, we're not doing that one. Everybody have a great night, and I will talk to you all tomorrow night for NXT TakeOver, where we're going to be doing our picks for both WrestleMania and NXT TakeOver. We'll talk about all of it tomorrow night, because we aren't doing This Week in Wrestling. We're going to do TakeOver. So everybody have a great night. Thanks for being here. Bob, you got any final words?
It's like this ever again.
Okay. I disagree. Okay. Austin Hart, telling you.